Hi guys!
Hello!
Hello, good evening, may gabi, may hapon, may udto, may adlaw, good morning, good day, good afternoon,
Bonjour.
bonjour, wherever you are in the world. So again, welcome back to our channel, welcome back to our YouTube space. We are again Geo-Anne family, and this time around, we will be sharing, this topic which lagi na kayo nag-message na ito no?
Yes,
From
may
random
message
random
from friends and
people,
random people.
yeah, random people asking about this topic. So the topic is alright. So if you're interested in this topic, please continue watching and don't forget, or maybe hamyo lang me, please like and subscribe and share na sa YouTube link and this video as well. And a disclaimer, guys. Again, disclaimer na namo, we are not experts. We are not
affiliated.
Yeah, we're not affiliated with any travel agency or consultancy.
Yeah.
Everything that we will be sharing is all just based on our experiences, among research. All right, so let's start. Let's start the ball rolling.
Just to add lang,
you have something to add, sorry.
Kuan siya guys, that there are a lot of changes karon sa immigration.
Oh, true. Yes.
Whatever we will be sharing, not everything might be applicable anymore.
That is
So
right.
it's worth checking also the website kung sa mga changes that may affect the application.
So timeline and fees.
Yeah, so I think we've also shared in our previous vlog one of the most popular pathways was back then was the student pathway, right? So although karon very minimal na lang siguro kayo na because of the changes, but just like majority of those many who actually tried to go to Canada, we also actually tried or attempted the student pathway. Luckily we were approved, right? But circumstances have changed, so thankfully also timeline-wise, the nomination came in, and of course we weighed the pros and the cons, right? And that's why eventually we decided that Express Entry was a better fit for our family in general, right? So the student pathway has its own separate timelines and costs, right? But we won't be sharing that much on it anymore because what we will be discussing more are costs and timelines related to our permanent residency application for the Express Entry.
Yeah, just to add and share, during the time that we started this Canada Dream, actually, ang student pathway was the hottest, or murag muto siya pinakasikat yun nga pathway, the
easiest, the fastest,
easiest and shortest time lagi you can
to get to Canada.
Yes, exactly. But the most costly yun, I think.
So anyway, to cut it short, start to discuss now is to start with the timeline first.
Yep.
Right? So of course, it was also mentioned in the previous vlog that there are minimum requirements, and the first thing that you actually need to do is to check your eligibility, right? That's the step one. And in order to check your eligibility, of course, there are minimum requirements that you have to also fulfill. So aside from the age, because again, it has corresponding score, right? You also need to do language test. Right, so the language test, on our case, it was IELTS, right? And I took IELTS on June 29, 2022. And for some reason, during this time, actually, there was already more attempt to do the student pathway, but then there are schools that really don't require IELTS, right? But for some reason, I think because for me, I think it's valuable also to do IELTS because eventually you will learn from it, you will learn the process. At the same time, the validity of IELTS was 2 years, right? It's 2 years. So basically, you have the time to use it for 2 years, whatever would be needed para later on sa application and everything. So magamit ko siya for 2 years ang IELTS. So it was a decision to make na we will take IELTS regardless of the cost because we really find it valuable to our application, not just with a student application, but eventually, if you want to move forward with anything else.
And the validity is 2 years.
Yes.
It's quite enough time for you to utilize the
Yes.
IELTS, right?
I took the IELTS, like I said, June 29, 2022, and then George took his, I think, July or August. Basta somewhere around that time.
Yeah, August to nga.
Yeah.
Dito kayo nga. Take ito IELTS.
And wala may nag-review, guys. But actually, maraguan lang, check lang sa YouTube for some inputs from those who have already taken the exam. But really, when you're already inside the facility to take the exam, the best thing that you can do is just to do your best. And focus on the task at hand. Of course, your aim is to get good score, not just the minimum. Because again, if you get good score, that will translate into a good comprehensive ranking score as well. So might as well, do good sa imuhang exam or sa imong IELTS test. So language test, we took that June 29, 2022. And then another minimum requirement would be the Educational Credential Assessment, or ECA as they call it. Right, so that's the basically assessment on your transcript of records or educational attainment. So kani siya nga step, guys, is something that we would really suggest because number one, The validity is 5 years, right? So imagine that kay pwede mahitabo within those 5 years. And the process is not that quick. So you have to go to school to get your transcript of records, and then once you have the transcript of records, it will have to be mailed to the facility or to the organization who is assessing your credentials. So it will take time for them to be able to complete the assessments. Right. So on our case, we actually got the result from West August 26, 2022. Of course, another minimum requirement is the work experience. That's something that walay timeline, but it has a corresponding score, right? So, and then later on, once you have all those minimum requirements ready, you can actually go ahead and create your Express Entry profile. The creation of Express Entry profile is free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it has a validity period as well. So its validity is only for 1 year.
Yep.
So on our case, I'm the main applicant. I created my profile on August 27, 2022.
2022. So
Yes.
take note of the timeline. So 2022.
Yes, 2022. But then, later on, once you create your Express Entry profile, since you have all the minimum requirements ready naman, you will actually have an idea of what your score will look like. So from my end, I'm the main applicant, right? So there are categories sa imuhang comprehensive ranking score. The first is the core or the human capital factors. As a main applicant would be, the first is your age. The highest score that you can get for your age is 100 points. The score that I got was 65 for that requirement. And then for the level of education, the highest that you can get is 140 points. But on my case, I got 112. Bisan og I got 4 years equivalent bachelor's degree. Why? Because the highest is probably given to those who have earned master's degree or doctoral degree, right? So mine was only bachelor's degree, but still a good score, right? 112. And then for my first official language, which is English, for my IELTS, my assessment, your IELTS result will actually have a corresponding score, and you will translate it to a CLB, right? So in my case, CLB is 8, CLB 8, right? So there is an available tool online that you can just input your IELTS score, and then you will be given an equivalent CLB, so you have an idea kung asa ka kutob in terms of your ranking, right? So in my case, my CI was CLB 8, and the highest that you can get for IELTS is 128. Mine was 112. Next requirement would be the second official language proficiency. The second language, guys, is French. French, although I took classes mura gid kag IELTS, I take also exam, and I don't really feel confident with it. So 0 pa na requirement. So 0 for that. Also, another minimum requirement is the Canadian work experience, which I don't have. And then another subcategory of the core human capital factor is imong spouse. So if you have a spouse, which you actually would like to include in your application, he also has to take all those minimum requirements, because that will help you somehow in your points. It may not be that big, pero makatabang din siya, guys. So sa akong husband, his level of education, he also got 4 years equivalent bachelor's degree.
So muna sa atong ECA, sa atong West na
Yes,
assessment.
sa WECA,
so
sa
our
assessment.
4-year degree sa Philippines from our university equivalent to 4-year degree course sa diri sa Canada.
Yes. But the scoring sa spouse is not as high as main applicant.
Score system different.
Yeah, so sa level of education, the highest that the spouse can get is 10 points. So my husband George actually garnered 8 points for that. And then next would be the first official language. So the highest your spouse can get would be 20 points. And George was CLB 7 based sa iyang IELTS result. So CLB 7 siya, and he got 14 points out of 20. And next would be the Canadian work experience, which he also doesn't have, which means 0 siya. Now, if imo siya i-total tanan, ang core human capital factors for both the main applicant and the spouse, we got 311 for that category. Yes, but there's also another category, which is the skill transferability factors. The skill transferability factors, additional points siya for your education, for foreign work experience, for foreign work and Canadian experience, and for certificate of qualification. Pero sa mga case, ni-apply ra siya sa transferability 25. Kuha na siya more or less imong gyapon na siyang education, right? So you get the highest that you can get is 25 points, but I got 13 points out of that. And then next would be the foreign work experience, which is actually diha na mo so ang atong work experience in the Philippines, right? So because anything outside Canada is considered foreign work experience. So naa siya point system depende kung pila ka years na ka nag-work for that certain position. So in my case, the score that I gained for this specific requirement is 25 points. The core human capital factors and the skill transferability factors combined, we only got 349 points. And if I remember it back then, the lowest score that had received the invitation to apply from the Canadian government was, I think, around 390 or 400, but I can't remember really exactly how much was it, but for sure it was higher than our 348. Okay, we didn't get ITA, and there's also another category, guys, which is the additional points. But then the subcategories beneath this, the criteria, wala na siya ni-apply na mo, because the first is French proficiency or bilingual. We don't have that. Next is if you are a PR or you're basically Canadian sibling ka, or you have a Canadian sibling, which we don't have. So, and then Canadian education, we don't have as well. And then arranged employment, wala may employment, wala may employer, because like I said, we applied outside Canada. And the next is the provincial territorial nomination. So those are part of the additional points, the criteria for additional points. And so you can only get ITA if your score is at least at the minimum sa gi-invitan ni federal government, right? In our case, since we only got 349, wala gini nakadato kay ITA, guys. But then we researched further, and then nangita kami og mga ways to increase or to boost our score. And there was this nomination. Every province has its own nomination program, right? So we looked further, and out of the provinces nga nag-offer og nomination program, Saskatchewan was one of those nga murag dili kayo siya. Naa siya option because most of the application or most of the nomination programs require employment offer or job offer from a certain employment, and we were from the Philippines, we were applying outside Canada, so it doesn't work the way we expected it to be. So dili siya na nakapasok makakuha ang employer if you're applying outside Canada. So we looked further, and nag-check na mo ang SINP program. We checked the requirements also, and there ginahinayan na mo siya og supply. Anyway, so moving forward, so there are also certain steps that we did, right? So first is, of course, you have to actually submit an expression of interest in their SINP portal. So it works pretty much just the same way with the federal process, pero lang nanin sa separate portal sa Saskatchewan. So you go to the portal and submit your expression of interest, and there you should have, of course, since you already have your language test, since you already have your educational credential assessment, ready ra ka to submit your expression of interest, right? And Saskatchewan, like the federal government, also has its round of invitations. If your job code is related or in part of the occupation in demand sa ilahang skill for the skilled workers, then you will most likely be able to get an invitation to apply. At the minimum though, dapat sa imuhang SINP, di ba naman tayo point system po sa express entry level. Sa SINP, you also have to earn at least 60 points for you to be able to enter into the SINP portal or create your expression of interest. Right? So, our case, we submitted our expression of interest in SINP portal March 10, 2023. Yes, and then of course you have to wait for the draw for the round of invitation, and we got our invitation to apply for a nomination April 20, 2023. And then once you get the invitation to apply for nomination, that's when the time you will submit all the other documents that they would require. So just to give you an idea, guys, our case, mo ni siya ang point system, mo ni siya ang points nga na-earn na mo, right? So there are two factors nga ilang i-consider for the nomination. So first factor is the labor market success, which covers education and training. So for the education, the maximum that you can get is 23 points. We got 20 points. Basically, ako rin nga main applicant, ang itagaan nila of points or scores, not the spouse anymore. So education and training, maximum score that you can get is 23. I gained 20 points, right? And then for the skilled work experience, again, pareha na siya sa federal government na number of years and everything. So since taod-taod naman dyan ko sa ako ang position nga akong gigamit for the nomination program, which is the business systems analyst or business systems specialist, right? The highest that you can get is 15, and I got 15, thankfully, right, because of my number of years as a business systems specialist. Right? So next would be your language ability. So your language ability, this is again your first first official language, which is your English. So this is again based on your IELTS results, right? So the highest that you can get for this is 20 points. And thankfully, guys, nakakuha
Nagamit kita mong IELTS, guys.
Yeah, so nagamit agad siya eventually sa nomination.
So, 2023 na siya, di ba?
Yes.
So, ito ka IELTS 2022 man to, di ba? Remember? So, for 2023.
Yes, nagamit agad siya. So,
which is valid still for 2 years.
And I think it's also valuable because you get to appreciate the process. IELTS, dili bitaw ka mabaguhan. Like, even if you will get first, I mean, it's costly, right? Costly siya, but then it's also a valuable experience because you will know how IELTS is done. If you have to take it second time, that's okay. That's part of the process.
But eventually, you will take IELTS man, guys.
So language ability, so I got 20 points, right? And then language ability again for the second language, I don't have. So 0 ko anang points. The highest that you can get for this is 10 points. And then for the age, 12 ang imong makuha ang highest, ang pwede mo makuha ang highest score. And then being a 36-year-old, I got 10 points for that. So 65 technically ang ako ang points for the labor market success. So masud na gid ka sa ilang minimum because you have to have 60 points,
60
right?
points sa mga ilang targets.
Yeah, but then the second factor was that I got na connection to Saskatchewan labor market and adaptability. So there's also our requirement for other Saskatchewan nomination program, pero sa ako it's a part of the occupation in demand. Kaya ang business system specialist nga role is part sa occupation in demand nga list ni Saskatchewan. So if your job code is part of those occupation in demand in Saskatchewan, you can actually try this nomination program as well, right? So the categories for the occupation in demand is close family relative in Saskatchewan. So at the minimum, if you have a cousin or a first degree cousin, a brother, a sister, an uncle or someone in a PR or Canadian citizen in Saskatchewan, you can actually earn points for that as well. So the highest that you can get is 20 points. In my case, I have a first degree cousin or na siya guys, dili na siya sibling or whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah, so generous actually, no, in a sense, because
the province of Saskatchewan is very generous in terms of that category, subcategory. Kay other nomination programs, other provinces, it needs to be what in it?
A direct family.
Direct family.
Yeah, when you say direct, it has to be with your immediate family,
Immediate
like
family.
father, mother, brother, sister,
sister.
ana lang siya. Diha lang siya kutob. So first degree, at least first degree cousin, you will actually get maximum of 20 points for that. And thankfully, I have a first degree cousin who's already a PR in Saskatchewan for so many years na I gained 20 points for that. And then past work experience in Saskatchewan, that's another criteria which I don't have. So 0 ko na guys. The highest that you can get is 5 points. And then past student experience in Saskatchewan, I also give you 5 points. So I don't have, like I said, outlanding application. So we don't have anything Saskatchewan or federal level na experience. So overall, yeah, right? So for the nomination program, SINP points, the highest that you can get is 110 points. In my case, I got 85 points, right? So 85 points, just enough for me to get an invitation to apply for nomination. So I remember 60 points ang require ni Saskatchewan for you to be into the pool, right? For 60 versus 85, dako-dako na gid siya og leverage, right? Dako-dako na siya og chance. So then, going back to my timeline, so I got I received the invitation to apply for nomination on April 20, 2023. So once you receive your invitation to apply for nomination, muna na mag-submit na din ka sa mga other requirements. So what are the other requirements? That will have to include your katong documents na. Like, katong mga documents na from your IELTS, kato siya mga inputs naman to siya, data naman to imong ibutang, no documents yet. So, kani i-attach na yung mga documents, and then you also have to input your settlement funds, your proof of funds, basically, right? So, this is where your proof of funds would come in. Why it's important to have enough funds in your bank or in your account, because eventually you will use it like here, and the government will actually be looking for it because they will never approve your application if you don't have settlement funds. So, sa mga case, we will go through the settlement funds later on. Makita na ninyo na sa website also na updated settlement funds. We will eventually be using that later on.
The proof of funds, ang government of Canada yun ang nag-assess because you will use that in your cost of living here in Canada.
While you're
still
in the process of looking for a job or something.
So that will cover everything, sa cost of living sa kwan.
Yes, so mana siya. So appeal na siya sa requirements ni SINP when you submit your nomination application. So of course we submitted that. In our case, we submitted that May 25, 2023. So we got our acknowledgement May 25, 2023, and then of course you have to wait for a certain number of months. You actually don't have control kung when mo send si Saskatchewan for your nomination or your approval letter for your nomination. So we received our first nomination letter on August 9, 2023. Yes. June, July was basically after 2 months. Nakadawat mi sa nomination. And however, of course, naman dyan yung mga hiccups, right, along the way.
True.
Right? So, what happens when you get your nomination letter is that you will actually get a linking request to your Express Entry profile the next day or so. So, if you check my Express Entry profile, you will have to accept a nomination from there. But then, on our case, yes, we did receive that. We accepted the nomination. Happy kayo and all that.
So here, based on the timelines, remember, nag-create me Express Entry profile pag August 27, remember, 2022. And we already mentioned that the Express Entry profile has a validity of 1 year. So, na-receive man na mo August 9, 2023. So that's like, pila na lang ka days
Yeah.
Mo expire na
siya.
ang express entry profile.
And
So,
we
what
needed
happened?
we needed time before we can actually submit the PR documents. So dili siya enough na time. So what we did was that we actually we actually created a new express entry profile. And once you have your express entry profile already, you can actually request for an enhancement sa imuhang nomination letter from Saskatchewan. So you actually can send the request or like create a request in the portal nga na kay new express entry profile that will have to be linked to your nomination. So nagapon siya gamay nga time guys nga required, but it's not that long. So eventually nakadawat ra sad gyud ni og enhanced nga nomination with the new express entry
But
profile.
then again, it bursted our bubble.
Yes, our
Like,
excitement.
we're very, very happy na naka-receive na ang tato. But then,
expiring man day siya. Yeah.
Put among profile. So, kung ano sad, down na sad me.
Yes.
But, padayon na gihapon, continue.
Yeah.
With,
So
application
what happened was that with the new express entry profile na nilink na namo siya, so nakadawat na may enhanced nomination letter. So it was also linked to our new express entry profile. So we had to accept it, and then by the moment you accept it, you will be given a certain number of days for you to be able to submit your PR application document. So because again excited kay ka and everything, you actually tend to sometimes malimutan mo, ma-overlook mo ang other important information also. So and then once you get your nomination linked to your express entry profile, automatically you will earn 600 points, additional 600 points. So initially, our express entry score was about 340. To be exact, it's 348 ang score sa express entry, right? But with the additional points from the nomination, we garnered additional 600 points more from our original score, right? So imagine, from 348, it went as high as 900, right? 948. Right, so actually dako na kaya siya nga score, considering that again ang the lowest score nga gisanda ni federal government for the invitation to apply was about probably 390, 400, 500, and for you to have 900 points is already like a guarantee that you will receive an invitation to apply, right? So automatically, so we accepted it, we gained 600 points more, we had 900 points more or less among comprehensive ranking score, and then after some time, probably after a couple of days or weeks, right, you will get, depende kung kano sa mag-draw balik si federal government. So, but you already have your 900 in your express entry profile. It's just there waiting, sitting for the invitation to apply to kick into your profile. So, nakadawat na ka sa, after some time, the federal government will draw, and then eventually you will get your ITA, invitation to apply for permanent residency. And sa mga ka-excited guys, we actually submitted our initial PR application nga wala may kabantay nga mo ang NBI already expired, no?
Yeah, because of the quite long process.
Yes.
So we overlooked the date of our NBI, the validity of our NBI clearance. So
yes.
So we were very, very excited, waiting for the result, and then here comes a notification saying that
yes, it's already expired. It has to be valid for at least 6 months. So somehow murag nahugno na sad me, or like na disheartened na sad me, because we waited for that moment, and then what we got was like a refusal or a cancellation of the permanent residency application because of an expired NBI police
exactly.
clearance.
So the reason for the cancellation was to be blamed sa among part because it's something that we have overlooked.
Yeah.
And
Probably because daghan na sa documents na that we actually prepared.
right.
We
So
thought, di na sa mo bantayan ng time.
it's really something that you need to also check, because kanang sa kadugay na sa process, sa kadugay na sa application, you need to check the validity of your documents, especially in our case that we started since 2022.
2022.
So our documents,
Yeah.
for sure, especially sometimes expiry, like sa express entry lang gaana mo na expired, valid for 1 year, and then good thing that our IELTS is valid for 2 years, and then tong WES one is valid for 5 years. So muna siya. So
Yeah, so, and mind you, when you submit your PR application, it comes with a cost. So, naa na siya cost nga you have to pay every time you submit your PR application. That means that when we submitted our PR application, there was already an application fee incurred, and because it was canceled, right, dili na siya ma-refund. The only amount that was refunded was for the permanent residency application, like the permanent residency card and everything, or the status, ano siya. But the application fee for processing, wala na siya na-return. And it's still a big amount. So
aside from the money wasted,
Time.
time wasted na po kay you need to wait na again, submit na ka. I mean, you submit ang katong na expiring na document, and then again, back ka sa waiting game. Wait aside.
Yes. So after that, of course, na-cancel among PR application, right? So what happened was that we requested for an enhancement again from the Saskatchewan. We actually gave the reason why it was cancelled because our police clearance was expired, and then also submitted together with the request the validated or like the new police clearance na. So we got the enhanced nomination letter again on October 24, 2023. So mo na siya ang final nomination letter nga na-receive na mo that was linked to our express entry. We accepted the nomination and then waited for some time for the invitation to apply from the federal government to be forwarded to us, and then I think there was that time na the federal government took a pause of the draw. So I think about a month papin.
So whole month of November,
wala sila nag-draw. So
every day may check what we draw.
So naghuwat me, but then the good thing about this is because we're able to prepare our documents na ahead.
But
So
prior to
ready
that,
na.
mga weekly gito sila nag-draw, no? Weekly. And then
Weekly, and then
for the
stop
whole month
weekly
of
or a
November,
month. Yeah, that's
we
twice or
waited.
thrice a month sila mag-draw for different
the whole month of
categories.
November, sige, may check
More wala. And then, surprisingly, pag first week of December 6, 2023, naka-receive me of invitation to apply for permanent residency.
Yes, sabi na sa-
Right? So, that's when the excitement kicks in again because you get to submit the documents. And this time around, we were very careful with the
Yes.
documents na mong submit because you'll never know if it's gonna be your last chance na. So, we were careful about it. We took time to review everything, and then it was on December 28, 2023 now we officially submitted our PR application documents. So, December 28, 2023, very remarkable date dito siya because it was almost the end of the year. So, we wanted it to be memorable.
Actually, yeah, exactly. We waited kanang before mo nag-hope me nga before Christmas, but then pag Christmas wala sige. So we patiently waited, and then here comes
It was the right
end of the year.
It was the right time. Okay, because of the holidays, I think siguro maybe that's one of the reasons kanang wala na lang namo gi sagad-sagad.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to compromise it. So December 28, we officially submitted our PR applications, and then like we said earlier, the documents that in the past, the documents that you'll be submitting for your PR application includes your reference letters from the companies that you've worked for, imong employment history. So not just mine, yes, but also sa side ni George na requested siya og COE for all those work nga iyahang declare sa iyahang profile.
Dagan yun.
Yeah, so if you've been working for so many years from different companies, you really have to be patient on it. You really have to be patient requesting it from different employers because that will also help you, right? And so that's one of the documents that you need to submit in the PR application. And then aside from that is the proof of funds, the bank statements showing sufficient funds for your family size. We're a family of 3, and if I remember it back then, dako gito siya, 1 million kapin in peso ang imuhang i-keep in your account, or close to almost 1 million or 1 million, tungtong gito 1 million for a family of 3 at that time. But today, they have updated the settlement funds, and by I think updated as of June 24, this should be the settlement funds that you need to provide for the whole PR application process, right? So aside from that, you also need to submit, like we said earlier, katong police clearance, right? The NBI police clearance, which has to be valid for at least 6 months, right? But 1 year man to validity sa ato ang NBI, so it should be good. So you have to make sure that it is valid when you submitted it. Para dili mo mapareha na mo, right? And the next would of course be your medical exam results from an approved physician, NHS. In our case, we took our medical upfront March 13, 2023. So naano mi marag nang pending nga exam results, but then March 13.
We took the medical exam March 13 because on the back end, remember that we are also working on the student, so ato to siyang so we had to take medical exam pod in line with the student on that, no?
Yeah, upfront to siya
So, but remember, there's always a validity sa tanang mga things that you comply. So for the medical, the expiration date is
1 year also.
1 year. So
March 13, 2023 na to i-take ang medical exam, right? And then our application was acknowledged the same day nang gi-submit na mo ang PR application to. And then we got the biometrics appointment February 9, 2024, right? So ni-add to me sa DFS to set up our biometrics. But before that, guys, if you notice, March 13, 2023 na mo gi-take ang medical exam, right? And it's only 1 year, it's only valid for 1 year. And so na biometrics may February 9. So that means that our medical exam is about to expire.
Exactly.
So
the excitement here is already kanang murag rising.
90%.
Yeah, it's really kanang may
90%
this is
na.
really going to we're nearing the the
We're on the right
finish
track
line,
na
yeah.
yun siya.
And then so imagine during those times, we check like from every day for the result, and then we also check na mga flights. So we're targeting that hopefully maabot ang result before ma-expire ang among medical.
Yes.
So that's why dito namin nagplano namin nga mag-book na siguro flight. We're looking for kanang mga flights na, because since we already did the biometrics, right, and then the medical, so it's like siguro na namin sa mga 90% of our journey or completion of this whole process. We're trying to see if we can book the flight at that point, but nilapas gid siya guys, naabtan yung may expiry.
Yeah, naabtan na expiry ang waiting time, and as much as ganahan mi magpa-schedule ahead, we can't do it because we have to wait for the notification coming from the IRCC. So dili siya yung basta-basta lang because it's expiring, you have to go there and schedule for an upfront medical exam. No, you have to wait for a notification coming from the IRCC. So we waited, and then when we got like somehow a request bitaw from the IRCC to go for the medical exam, that's when we processed new medical. So another cost
na po, another time wasted na po. So
Yes.
additional cost na po in our end, which kanang na po siya, because the medical for a party of 3 is actually kwanza siya, 5 digits.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, so so after that, so waiting time included na ang new medical exam taken, and then thankfully officially on June 9 we were able to receive a do not reply message, and so we checked it, and it was the day when we got our confirmation of permanent residence. So it was the June 9, 2024.
So for the month of April and May, we checked like daily sa gihapon, save the results. Wala gihapon, and then we checked also mga updates if nganong nadugay bagamay.
Yeah, wala.
But then
We just have to wait.
But if you try to see December, they said that, or normally based sa katong mga
Processing time,
it's really 4 to 6 months. So we're still within the timeline because December 28 man to
Submit,
submit, right? So we were still hopeful na moabot gid siya. We were hoping na much earlier unta siya, but then after 5 months kapin, almost 6 months.
Na-use up gid siya ang 6 months primarily because of our medical exam and everything else, right? So most of the reason na nabot siya 6 months.
And I think everything that we went through is actually God's plan. Everything like katong mga timeline, ay mga missed na mo, although it cost us money and
Heartaches.
heartaches but eventually it made us stronger. I mean, those failures made us really hopeful and stronger po, and very very hopeful and prayerful that the time will come and we will be getting to the finish line. So mo to June 9, the do not reply email came in. Mo gina siya ang kanang ingon nga do not. So we
na-receive donut, guys.
Yes, and
donut.
then dito gid na dito aming donut to celebrate it.
Yes. So June 9, 2024, then fast forward after June 9, 2024, nangita naming flights, and the best thing that we can find was for September
So
ng
June 9.
flight. So that's why we're here.
So pag June 9, that's the time that we decided to really kanang book a flight na gid, because it was already a COPR, right?
Yes.
A COPR. So that we get.
Yeah, so fast forward, September 24, we arrived in Vancouver. So Vancouver may naabot, Vancouver among port of entry. Point of entry, yeah. So
To sum it up, we started again sa atuang June 2022, June 2022, and then
we got the COPR, which is June 9, 2024. So roughly 2 years, right? So if you need to do something, if you want to do something, start early, do it now. Kaya you never know what's gonna happen next, right? Magbasin mag-regret yung mga wala ninyo sa way. So, but again, you have to check for updates, good. And
updates from IRCC.
yes, or bisan, not just IRCC, even with other countries, because every time they would update the regulation or immigration policies every now and then. Yes,
election time.
Right. So anyway, so yeah, that's our timeline, and then we will discuss a little bit over the costs that we have incurred during the whole process. It may not be the same as well because sa mga experience daghan kayo ni og mga repeats, daghan mig mga hiccups nga na experience during the process. And I think the first thing that I will cover is more on the eligibility requirement was the language test. So how much was the cost of the IELTS? So the IELTS cost at that time was about 321 Canadian dollars. So roughly about 14,000 or 15, close to 15,000. each applicant, or each, no, not each applicant, but each person. So I took my IELTS exam, he took his IELTS exam, so possibly mga around 650, or rounded off 700, right? So mana siya ang cost sa language exam. And then sa WES as well, right? Sa educational credential assessment, it's gonna be per person as well. So $250 for me, and then another $250 from him. So kuan siya guys, so total $500 Canadian.
And on top of that, you're paying for the processing fees of the school.
Yes.
And then the courier.
Yeah.
Padala.
Lalay mang expenses ka to school, and you have to just consider that. Minsan siya, di ka siya dako kayo po noon, but if you wanna cover all the expenses, you might as well just look into that. Pero it's not that big compared to the other, like the WES, the credentials, and IELTS, dako siya, so you have to really have money for that. And then also, so moving forward sa imong Express Entry profile, your SINP application also has cost. Right? It has cost. So the cost for the application for nomination is 370 Canadian dollars. So 370 Canadian dollars lang one application naman siya, right? And then the submission of the PR application, permanent residency application. The whole application will conclude into you paying it. The amount that we paid was 3,130. As a family na siya.
Family of 3.
Yes, for the family of 3. And then, so that's 3,130. And then also for the medical exam, aside from actually the first medical exam that we had as a family, around 700 kapin, 745 in pesos, it's 30,000. Remember, we did it twice, but basically, mo na siyang amount for a family of 3, 2 adults and 1 6-year-old daughter. So 30,000 more or less ang imuhang igasto for the medical exam. Yep, and roughly about, excluding the settlement funds, roughly about 5,400 Canadian dollars ang among nagasto for the whole process. Not to include na siya katong mga repeats na mo, like kang second attempt na mo to get the medical exam, and probably katong mga documents, right? So,
sa school, ang pag-add to sa mga locations,
yes,
transportation fees, gasoline,
yes, and then in peso, roughly about 220,000. And again, processing lang na siya. Yeah, processing lang na siya, documents and everything. Wala pa na siya lapot sa settlement funds. So, yeah, mga na siya guys. You just have to make sure you have buffer in your money, because again, you should expect mga repeats, mga instances nga mga dili na ninyo ma-include sa inyong initial application. Eventually, it will come in during the whole process, right?
And by the way, so
DIY pa din guys, right?
Exactly, DIY. If you go through yung additional professional fees for people involved, and then imagine this is for everything that you have spent, and then pre-travel, there are also expenses, guys. Pre-travel, like groceries, mga medicines, mga supplies, things like that.
Needs,
so, dako na siya. Dako na siya.
Aside from the flight.
Yes, and then exactly the flight for Canada, medyo lalayo man siya. So
dako
the
siya,
flight, that's already.
Ang nagasto for our flight September 29 was about 120,000 pesos, no?
True, yes.
Yeah. And I think gamay na siya considering kanang good for 3 na siya, di ba?
And we were looking for the cheapest flight during that time. So that's it. So imagine na kay pre-travel expenses, na kay kanang while travel expenses, which is your flight, and then other things that you need to pay at the airport, and then post-travel expenses na pag when you arrive at your destination, when you arrive in Canada, there are also expenses involved. We can tackle that in a different video, especially that we will be creating a video for katong requirements that you need to accomplish or need to get upon arrival.
Basically, guys, our whole application process took us 2 years, nearly 2 years, right? But it's been a journey full of highs and lows. Of course, again, mo kitang mga repeat instances, right? But that's normal na siyang process, so you have to go through it. And but the bottom line is, here we are. We are here as permanent residents settling in Canada. And if you are also on the same path as ours, our tip is to stay organized, be prepared, and trust in the process.
Research and have faith. Continue believing, manifest.
Yes, and keep on praying, because it's worth it in the end, right? So yeah, and thank you for watching, guys. And if you found this very helpful, don't forget it would really help a lot sa mga side for you to like, subscribe, and share. And if you have questions about the Express Entry, again, we're not experts, but we'll try our very best to help. Thank you.
See you on our next vlog.
Bye.